To get notified of all new videos when they drop, and to help support the channel, smash that sub button and click the bell icon. Hey guys, Taki here. My last gearing guide on range received 100 upvotes, and as promised, I have the melee counterpart for you. If you haven't had a chance to see the range guide yet, click the annotation on screen now to be taken to that video. This is the overview of the guide. As always, you can find timestamps in the description to skip ahead to the sections you care the most about. Let's get into it. I want to take a quick moment to talk about some distinctions between tank and power armor. For the most part, it will always be advantageous to use power armor over tank armor, except in times where you cannot survive without damage reduction or cooldown resets. Tank armor can fill a role in your initial kills on bosses due to damage reduction, but once you are more comfortable, you should transition over to power armor for more DPS. Kicking us off, at tier 70 is Bandos, and this is going to be your base DPS set that you will upgrade over time. It's useful for a large variety of bosses due to having a very nice 87 melee damage bonus. The full set can be picked up for around 5 mil. At tier 80 we have Animal Core of Zaros at 59.7 million. This requires 80 defense to use and can be considered a minor, yet very expensive upgrade over Bandos. An important distinction between these two sets is that Zaros lacks a prayer bonus. Also at tier 80 we have Torva at 73.7 mil. This is a direct upgrade over each part of Bandos with a very nice life point bonus. Torva armor, like all next gear, requires constant upkeep in the form of armor repair. At tier 80 we have the value set in Superior Vesta / Statius at 15.8 mil. The set requires 80 defense and has nearly identical stats to Malevolent. The armor is a great value if you have Invention unlocked. The only downside to using this armor is that it degrades to dust, lacks life point bonus, and has no prayer bonus. At 90 defense, you have access to the best in slot DPS gear with Malevolent at 24.9 mil. This set degrades to dust, but you can increase its longevity by augmenting it. Unlike the tier 88 armor, Malevolent includes a 7 prayer bonus. Of all of the Barrows armor you can choose at tier 70, Verax is superior due to its cheap cost and the inclusion of a 4 prayer bonus. This is a decent set of starter tank armor. At tier 80 you have access to another set of Barrows tank armor in the Linza set. This set goes for 36.8 mil, making it roughly 9 times the cost of the far better Tetsu set. The only thing that's unique about this set is its ability to reflect damage with its set effect. At tier 85 we have access to both versions of the Tetsu armor, with the weaker version going for 4.6 mil. A better version of this armor is unlocked by taking part in player-owned ports. This is a decent set of armor to use if you are first learning a boss with melee, or when your DPS does not matter. And at tier 90 we have access to the best in slot tank gear in the Terralith set. This is unlocked as a drop from raids or by purchasing a weaker version with raids currency. This armor is useful for high-end bossing because it allows you to reset defensive cooldowns. And finally we have Superior Elite Void. I don't want to overstate the usefulness of this armor, but there was a time when this was the preferred set for bossing. Now, I can only see this being used if you don't have Invention unlocked. This set increases accuracy by 3% and damage by 7. Capes are fairly straightforward. From left to right we have the Obsidian Cape, Capes of Accomplishment, the Fire or Max Cape, the Abomination Cape, the Cal Sil Cape, and Completionist Cape. There is much more variation in necklaces. From left to right we have the Glory, Dragon Rider, Blood Fury, Fury Trimmed, Forsaken, the Whisper, Knockout or Blood Necklace, Amulet of Souls, and Amulet of Souls Ornate. If you're looking for a cheap necklace to get you started, take a look at the Fury T necklace or Saradomin's Whisper. Then, work your way up to Amulet of Souls by doing Reaper tasks. We have 2 situational necklaces to take a look at. The first is the Reaper necklace, and this boosts accuracy to 3%. This is useful on bosses where it's difficult to get to 100% accuracy. And second, we have the Amulet of Zealots, and this is useful if you don't have access to tier 95 or better prayers. The Amulet of Zealots increases the effectiveness of single stat prayers. We have a little bit of utility in the glove slot. Going from left to right, we have Rockshell, Bandos, Torva, Passage, and Razorback. The Gloves of Passage have a unique effect to boost the damage done after Havoc. We have 3 situational gloves. First are the Goliath gloves, and these give a small chance to increase outgoing damage while also lowering the stats of the monster you are fighting. These gloves also have the ability to reduce incoming damage. These gloves are a free set of tier 80 gloves unlocked from the Dominion Tower. Second, we have Cinderbane gloves, and these gloves have a passive effect to apply a poison dot on the monster you are fighting. And third, we have the Death Touch bracelet, and this gives you a 1 in 5 chance of reflecting 25 to 50% of the damage back on opponents. For tank gloves, we only have 3. We have the Pneumatic, Tetsu Kote, and Acto. The ring slot is very straightforward. From left to right, we have the Warrior's Ring, Luck of the Dwarves, 6th-Age Circuit, and Asylum Surgeon's Ring. The Asylum Surgeon's Ring is the best in slot DPS ring, and it is unlocked by completing challenges after the Broken Home quest. There are 3 situational rings that you can use. First is the Luck of the Dwarves, and this can be used before a monster dies to increase your drop chance. Second is the Ring of Vigor, and this saves 10% adrenaline when you use an ultimate ability. And finally, we have the Ring of Death, and this saves on death reclaim costs. The Ring of Death should only be used if your cost to recharge it is cheaper than your death reclaim cost. There isn't too much variability in the boot slot. Going from left to right, we have Rockshell, Bandos, Torva, Emberkeen. Bandos should be your first starter boot if you have the money for it, and then Torva will pretty much last you forever until there's a better update in the boot slot. Emberkeen is best in slot, but the upkeep cost is extremely high. And for tank boots, we have Tetsu, Steadfast, and Acto. You have 3 auras that you should go for if you're interested in bossing with melee. Your top priority should be to unlock the Berserker aura for 50k loyalty points. The Berserker aura boosts accuracy, melee damage, attack, and strength by 10%. The aura will increase damage received by 15% and reduce your defense level by 15%. The Brawler aura increases accuracy from 3 to 10% depending on the tier that you own. To be able to purchase all of the tiers, you will need 107k loyalty points. And finally, Dark Magic will give you a slight damage boost at the cost of 42.5k loyalty points. There's a lot of options in the pocket slot for melee, so I'm going to try to cover the most popular ones. First up, we have the Scrimshaw Vampirism, and this gives a 5 to 6.66 lifesteal. Then from here we have the Scrimshaw of Attack. This gives 2 to 4% accuracy. This can be used in the same way as the Reaper Necklace to help achieve 100% accuracy. This is useful on bosses like Rax, Nex, and AOD. You can also choose to use a God Book inside your pocket slot. Going from left to right, we have the Book of Law, Book of Wisdom, and Book of Chaos. Each of these books has the same passive bonuses, but their on-proc damages are different. The Book of Law is the best in this category, with the Book of Chaos being the weakest, but the differences between these books is very minor. You also have access to Berserker Blood Essence, and this is useful without overloads. This boosts offensive stats by 14% plus 2, and stat bonuses over 136 are possible. If you are level 5 attack in Barbarian Assault, you can buy the Attacker's Insignia, and this is useful if you have 100% hit chance. This gives you a 500 damage bleed times 4 per proc chance. And finally we have access to Reflecting Blood Essence, and this reflects between 5 and 2500 damage on proc. You can activate this once per minute. And we also have Vampiric Blood Essence, and this heals a maximum of 2500 on proc and can also be activated once per minute. Hopefully you can see based on this screen that there are numerous options to choose from in the shield slot for melee. On screen you can see the level requirements for each shield along with their PVM damage reductions. If you are looking for some advice on a shield to pick up to start using shield abilities, Bandos Kite Shield is extremely cheap. When you get into higher level bossing, you can pick up a Divine Spirit Shield due to its 30% damage reduction at the cost of prayer points, or a Malevolent Kite Shield. Defenders are also another option in this slot, and these are unlocked via boss drops when you have lower tier defenders unlocked. Defenders act as a shield half their tier, but allow for dual wielding and shield abilities to be used. These defenders also boost accuracy by 3% and have a 1 in 15% chance to reduce an incoming attack by 50 to 100%, while also giving a 20% boost to accuracy for the next attack. There are a lot of options in the weapon slot for melee. You're going to need to take a look at the accuracy and damage rating on the weapon that you want to choose, and then compare the price differences between two weapons that you can afford. Going from left to right, we have tier 75 God Swords. Then we move up to tier 80 with Attuned Crystal Halberd and Mauls. Then from here we have tier 85 Dragon Rider Lance, and this acts as a tier 90 accuracy and tier 80 damage. In tier 87 we have Annihilation. Then from there we have the Noxious Scythe. And then finally we have the best in slot two-handed weapon, which is the Zaros God Sword. If you can't afford a Noxious Scythe and you don't need tier 90 accuracy, Annihilation is a great option over a Dragon Rider Lance for almost the exact same price. Dual melee weapons are a little bit different because weapon speed plays a factor in a weapon's damage rating, making it seem like Drygores are vastly better than tier 92 Copish weapons if you did not need the added accuracy. We also have a lot of options in this slot, but there are a few options to consider if you are starting from nowhere. Namora and Avaris are cheap weapons in this tier range and will last you long enough to make the jump to Drygores. All of the Drygore weapons are very cheap for the stats that you get from them, so it shouldn't take you that long to accumulate enough gold to buy a set if you want to dual melee. If you have access to player-owned ports, Tetsu katanas are nice to have, but they are severely outclassed once you reach 90 attack. Down from here we have chaotic weapons, Karasi and Jessica's swords, dual crystal daggers, and superior dragon weapons. There are a few weapons without offhand counterparts to take a look at. At tier 88 we have the superior Vesta's longsword. At tier 85 we have the lava whip. At tier 80 we have Linza's hammer. And also at tier 80 we have the very expensive second age sword. At tier 75 we have the vine whip. And finally at tier 70 we have the abyssal whip. And last but not least we have some miscellaneous weapons. There are 4 spears to choose from if you want to start doing some corporal beast bossing. Superior Vesta's spear is by far the best and cheaper of the options between tier 88 and tier 85. The only downside to using this spear is that it'll eventually degrade to dust, but the added accuracy will more than pay off with corporal beast drops. That's all for this one. Until next time, Taki out.